Good afternoon. Welcome to Elon University, ladies and gentlemen. I am pleased to announce today that Elon University has accepted an invitation to join the Colonial Athletics Association, a big day for Elon. The CAA is a venerable athletics conference, an ideal fit with Elon today, as well as the Elon University that we envision for the future. We believe, first and foremost, that this is a great move for the institution as a whole. 56% of the class of 2017, next year's incoming class, hails from the CAA footprint. 12% of our incoming students come from Massachusetts alone. And of course, these days, Elon draws the remainder of its students from most of the other 50 states and 48 foreign nations. A large percentage of Elon graduates find employment in the CAA footprint as well, and especially in the New York, Boston, Philadelphia, and Baltimore markets. We believe the academic fit with many nationally recognized institutions is very much in line with Elon's expanding reach and national reputation. We're especially excited about being part of the Colonial Academic Alliance, which includes an annual undergraduate research conference. And the CAA also matches up well with Elon's alumni body. Our alumni will be able to make short trips to their home, from their homes to cheer on the Phoenix at road games. And it's going to be great fun for us to hold alumni events all over the country centered around Elon athletics. And it hasn't escaped us that CAA schools are located in 6 of the top media markets in the nation. What a great opportunity to profile the Elon Phoenix. And while this is a great move for the university, I want to stress that this is a great opportunity for our student athletes who have expressed tremendous support for this move. Many will have the opportunity to compete in their hometowns, and in some cases against their high school classmates and friends. They'll also have the chance to compete in a league that has enjoyed great national success. And now I'd like to introduce the rest of the panelists up here who are going to make a few comments. And then following that, we will be happy to take questions from members of the press and the audience in general. First up is Noel Allen, former chair of the Board of Trustees, class of 1969. Noel was chair of the board when we made the move to university status. And so he's been around as we've made important institutional decisions in the past. He was also instrumental in the founding of the Elon University School of Law, another momentous step for the university. Noel is a distinguished attorney and has been named one of North Carolina's legal elites. He is also the ultimate Elon ambassador. Next to speak will be our Director of Athletics, Dave Blank, who will address the promise of this move for Phoenix athletics, and especially the benefits for our student athletes. And finally, I'm proud that Commissioner Tom Yeager is here from the CAA to make some remarks. In closing, let me say how much we have enjoyed being part of the Southern Conference, and we look forward to one more year of competition in that league this coming academic year. Commissioner Imerino was very gracious in his conversation with me yesterday, and in my communications with many of my fellow SoCon presidents and chancellors yesterday, I had the opportunity to express hope for continued excellent relations between our institutions, both academically and athletically. And each of them was extraordinarily gracious in their response as well. Please welcome Noel Allen.
Thank you. It's not often that I'm introduced as an extinguished attorney, but oh, you said distinguished to catch up. It's an honor to be here on behalf of the Board of Trustees in what we regarded as a very important step in the trajectory of this institution. An opportunity to find a group, a good fit, an excellent fit with regard to athletic conference, a fit with regard to where our students are coming from now, and also where our opportunities lie ahead, as well as the schools and the challenges there. I think that everyone has enjoyed and appreciates the opportunity we've had to be in the Southern Conference, but this is a chance to find a broader fit for our student population so they can play where they maybe came from, and we can meet their parents as well. So it's a wonderful opportunity in that regard. Leo pointed out that the high percentage of our student population for this coming year is coming from that area. That's a figure that's roughly twice the number that are coming from the former conference that we were in. At any rate, this was a decision that the board looked at very carefully, looked at it from a lot of different angles, but very excited about it. There was no vote against it, and we were excited to go forward with it. And thank you.
First of all, I'd like to thank everybody for coming out. This is such an important day for our athletic department, our university, and I just want to point out the logic for making this decision rests right here in this room, as I see coaches and fans and boosters, members of the institution, prominent members of the Board of Trustees. That is how this decision was made. It was important to all of our constituents, and we were glad to go around and get feedback from everybody, and excited to see that the feedback was consistently in favor of this decision. So thank you all for being here today. I would really like to express how much Elon University and our athletic department has enjoyed our relationship with the Southern Conference. On a personal note, I want to thank all of my colleagues and the athletic directors in the Southern Conference. It's been such a great relationship with that conference, and I'm sure that we'll continue those relationships. But when you work in a professional world like that with those kind of folks, we don't see this as a departure. We see this as a decision that everybody understands how we arrived at. But it's so important to maintain those relationships, and it was a special place for us to be in that conference, and we're appreciative for that. I'd also like to make sure that we are very thankful to John I. Marino and his staff, all the members of the Southern Conference office, and thank you for everything that you've done for Elon along the way as well. Again, very important part of our relationship was being able to have the correct working relationships with the Southern Conference and all their members, and we're very grateful to them, and look forward to continued relationships with them, hopefully in non-conference fashion, as well as one more year in the Southern Conference. We're looking forward to continuing that relationship. Joining the Colonial Athletic Association presents us with our next great challenge, and we look forward to taking that challenge on. We are proud to have the opportunity to be associated with and compete with the great members in the Colonial. We know so much about them already. In many cases, our student athletes will now be playing against friends from their hometowns, and even against high school classmates. As we've talked to our student athletes through our progression of this decision, we've learned a lot about that relationship and the importance to our student athletes. They look forward to those relationships. We anticipate great parent and alumni support in the towns that we will now visit, and the great cities and amongst the media market that you heard President Lambert speak of. We're excited also about the extensive regional and national television coverage that the Southern Conference, or that the Colonial offers. Contracts with NBC Sports and Comcast in particular stretch across the footprint of many of our student athletes in our recruitment, but also many of our students and our families and those that are already affiliated with Elon University. So not only is that great for them to be able to see us play, but it's also great for our student athletes to know that that kind of coverage is going to reach their hometowns directly, and we're excited about that. We're thrilled that we're going to compete in a conference that has produced 16 national team champions in 5 different sports. along with 33 individual national champions and 12 national players of the year. Some outstanding athletic achievement in the Colonial, and we look forward to being a part of that. Additionally, 3 Colonial teams have made NCAA basketball Final Four appearances, and we're excited about our opportunities there. 4 national champions in other sports just in the past decade. So we are very excited about our opportunities to compete at that level with the Colonial institutions and look forward to those challenges. Our work's cut out for us, but we're confident that our student athletes and coaches are ready for this challenge. We've had a lot of discussion with our coaches as well. The support there was unanimous that this would be a great thing for our student athletes and our sport programs, and we're excited about it. We want to express our appreciation, and I do on a personal note, to President Lambert and members of the senior staff and also our Board of Trustees for entrusting athletics and our coaches, our administration, people that work with and around me, for giving us this opportunity and feeling confident that we can take Elon Athletics where we want to go in this endeavor, and we're excited about it. We're proud to be contributing to the growth of this university, and we look forward to being such a great part of Elon's history as we move into the Colonial Athletic Association. Lastly, I want to express my personal thanks to Tom Yeager. We are glad that he's here today, but was so helpful to me through this decision-making process and providing information and introducing and indoctrinating me on a number of things to the Colonial and how it works and how the members are taken care of and how we work together throughout the conference. Very important stuff, providing data and things that we needed to be able to make such a good decision. Tom is distinguished in his own right. He's in a 28-year tenure, which is the longest tenure of any Division I conference commissioner right now. And when you talk about the importance of stability, Tom Yeager brings stability to Division I athletics and what he's done in the Colonial Athletic Association. And we welcome you, Tom, today, and welcome you here for some comments.
Thank you. This is quite a showing of support, and it's very impressive. When I walked through the door, that was the first thing that struck me. And congratulations, Elon, to Mr. Allen and to President Lambert. Thank you for this vote of endorsement from the board and the administration at Elon University and the Colonial Athletic Association. We are thrilled that you have accepted our invitation to membership and recognized right from the start this is going to be a great opportunity to partner to extend the goals and objectives of the university and collectively as a conference also help you achieve those goals and objectives. We're based in Richmond, Virginia, and there's a lot of people in Virginia that know a lot about Elon University. My first visit down here was when my kids were doing their proverbial college tours probably about 18 years ago now. And we came through Elon, and I remember at the time it was just a beautiful campus, and just you could understand why you hear so many references about Elon. And when we came back about 2 months ago for the first time since, wow, what has transpired? It's terrific. Dave stole a lot of the comments I might have made about about the athletic programs. I'd like to talk more about the institutional partnerships within the Colonial and what that means across the board. First off, we started this process in a very selective method of looking at schools that met philosophically the beliefs and the values that we hold very firmly in the Colonial. We have about 5,000 student athletes that compete over our 22 championship sports. And while we have alums like Joe Flacco and Justin Verlander, the vast majority of our student athletes don't earn their livings professionally. And I take a great deal of pride in the fact that our institutions value a great deal the opportunity for their student athletes to be able to use their athletic ability to create an opportunity for many of them to attend college when it might otherwise not have been possible. We're very pleased at the graduation rates. We're very pleased about the success rate. And it's within that context that our decisions are based. We believe that it's important, just as our students are challenged in the classroom, that our student athletes and the athletic experiences that they go through are also a valuable part of their educational opportunities on their campuses. And we want to provide a similar challenging opportunity for them in the athletics and sports arenas, just as they are in the classroom. We will continue to look at ways. I can't move Philadelphia any closer to Elon, but we are going to work diligently to always have the best interests of our student athletes at heart with the travel and missed class time, ways that we can get all those great benefits of playing back in front of home families and friends and get back to class. And because that's important, because at the end of the day, we're in the business of having our kids graduate and having great collegiate experience. One of the things I think that also attracted our presidents and athletic directors was the very positive trajectory that this university has enjoyed over the last couple of decades. This is as much about a move, not about 2013, but about 2025 and where we visualize our universities being, and in identifying an institution that you'd like to become a partner in that endeavor. Elon rose right to the top. And so we look forward, can't wait. Unfortunately, we have a year, probably take us a year to get these schedules worked out. But we look forward to welcoming the Phoenix to what we believe is the finest opportunity of academics and athletics that's available for our student athletes. And we know that you will be a great addition to the league. I know that our teams will love coming down here and competing in these beautiful facilities. We know that there are a lot of CAA alums here already. We know that those Elon alums in some office building in Philadelphia are going to walk down the hall and bust the guy from Delaware and Drexel when the game time comes. And it's going to be great. And it sounds like it's going to be a recreation of the Boston Tea Party when you get up to Northeastern and play in Boston. So anyway, welcome President Lambert, to Dave and your staff and your coaching staff. We look forward to many successful years together in a very successful partnership.
So at this time, we'd open it up to questions for anybody up front here, and be glad to answer any questions you want to pose.
A lot of institutions, particularly in our region, the Mid-Atlantic region. And, the presidents kind of start with the U.S. News and World Report, and the athletic directors kind of start with RPI rankings, And, there's a pretty good correlation between that. And that was, again, I think a familiarity with the university. That a number of our schools, compete with Elon already. The reputation, and not so much, it really was at least a 50-50 weighting of athletics and academics, and probably stronger academics. But what's the type of institution? Conference membership is all about whose name on the letterhead is next year's, and people that you want to associate with, and institutions that you respect. And when when you get that kind of opportunity, the level of respect that Elon generates academically, athletically, and stuff just, again, brought it to the forefront.
Go ahead. Give your hand.
President Lambert, at what point did you realize that our relationship with the Southern Conference wasn't going to work out?
Joe, why don't you ask me an easy question? This was under serious discussion, as you know, for the last month at the board level and at a level of campus conversation. I'd say as the last month has moved on, the picture became clearer and clearer every day to us.
Leo, on that note, how concerning
How concerning has the attrition the Southern Conference is going through, how concerning was that for you guys?
Well, obviously, it was a concern. We have had two very fine, longstanding football powerhouses leave the conference, and two very prestigious basketball conferences leave. And we were very concerned about Davidson College looking at other options as well. So it is a very unstable time right now in the world of college athletics. I don't have to tell you that. And of course, that was foremost in our mind in terms of thinking about not only what was happening, but what could be in the future. And those are uncertainties, but that's what we're called upon to do in our role sometimes, is to make judgments in uncertain situations. And we were very, very pleased to have this extraordinary opportunity come before us, within the last 30 days, 40 days, to consider the Colonial. And it was I think, a brilliant option for Elon to have the opportunity to evaluate and eventually accept.
You guys laid out all the benefits you see of joining the CAA and your alums and the markets you'll be going into. Does that outweigh what you'll have to finance travel-wise? How do you see handling the travel costs that are bound to increase?
Well, we're going to have to, our commitment is that we're going to fundraise a significant share of them. Our fundraising in athletics has doubled under Dave Blank's leadership, and I'm confident it can go up another 50%. Aren't I, Dave? Seriously, we're committed to that. It was so interesting, though, Adam, when we would bring this, a picture's worth 1,000 words, and when we would bring a picture of that footprint to various groups on campus, Student Athlete Advisory Committee, we had an open forum with faculty and staff, we've talked about it in any number of numerous forums to try to, in meetings, of course, the Athletics Committee of the Board of Trustees, the Executive Committee, the full board. When you look at that map and you look at where Elon alumni and prospective students come from, people almost instantaneously got it. They said, this is a great fit for Elon. And I think that tells the whole story.
Dave, how do you see the travel costs?
Well, I think you have to look at it of we're committed to a Division I athletic program, and we're going to do everything we need to do to make sure our student athletes have a great experience. That's always been my mantra, and I don't expect that to change. Obviously, that's an easy place to begin the conversation when you think about a change like this. So it's something we talked about early. But this is about institutional positioning and doing what we think is best for the university, not only now but in the long run. We did not look at this as running from something, but moving toward an opportunity. And there's a big difference there. The Southern Conference is a great conference. It still has many good institutions. There's no denying that. But we felt like for the institution, this was a great move for us to be able to consider. And that's ultimately how the decision was made.
Adam, I think I'd also like to point out that, think of them, we're a private university. Private universities are largely dependent on tuition for an enrollment to maintain their operations. You can think of it as, in one sense, as athletic travel money, and it is. But it's also marketing money for the institution in a very real sense. And I think this is a really good way to promote Elon University in its most strategic corridor.
Dave, do you think our athletic teams now are in a position where they can join a CAA and immediately compete?
I'd ask you a question, how you think the Southern Conference teams would do against the CAA right now. And that might be obvious, maybe they're better. But I would tell you that those of us in the Southern Conference tell you we can compete with the Colonial. The better place, my barometer falls in two places in meetings that I conducted. Those are with my coaches and our student athletes. And both of those constituents were strongly in favor of this move and saw the level of competition and the ability of our programs to exceed in markets that our student athletes know well from growing up there. That's a big theme to this, really important, not only to the university, but to our student athletes as well. So yes, I expect that we will be very competitive in the Colonial.
On that note, this last year in the SoCon, do you get to compete for championships, or is that, I know the other schools don't?
I'm just letting you finish your question.
That's pretty
Okay.
competitive there.
Yeah, well, the precedent was set with the Southern Conference last year with the College of Charleston departing, and the decision made to allow the College of Charleston to compete for championships during the year of their exit. And we anticipate that that will be the similar situation with all the schools that are leaving the Southern Conference over the next year.
Okay, so that's a yes then?
That's my perception of it. It might be a good question for John I. Marino, but my belief is that that's the way it is because that's the way we've done it. My hope is that adults made these decisions, student athletes did not, and they deserve the right to compete for championships. When we discussed this, when Charleston made the decision to leave, that's the tone of the conversation, at least in the room with the athletic directors. And ultimately, I think the president supported the same tone, that the kids deserve a chance to compete. We don't want to take that from them.
I thought App and Georgia Southern couldn't go to the postseason.
That's an NCAA rule.
That has to do with them transitioning in football, and there's going to be a period of time where they can.
FCS, FBS?
Well, it's more about this. They can add scholarships from 63 to 85, and they do that as in a phase. So it would be unfair for them to compete in our level with more scholarships, so that's a football rule. Yeah, Bob?
Dave, do you expect that your recruiting for athletes will now be more in these CAA areas? It sounds like you're already trying to appease some of them that are already with you, but is that going to even increase even more?
Well, our coaches believe that we will enjoy the wider spectrum of recruiting. And it's really going to be advantageous to us relative to the academic mission of our institution as well. We want to make sure that we are recruiting student athletes that are going to compete in our classrooms. And this is going to widen the footprint for our ability to be able to recruit other places and bring in strong students and student athletes from a bigger geographic area. So we don't see it as much as maybe a challenge as we do an opportunity. And we'll see where the rubber meets the road on that as we go forward. You might look at it and say perhaps we have an advantage to the South by the strength of the CAA in many of the sports, where now perhaps we can do well in recruiting here against the Southern Conference schools and the Atlantic Sun schools and the Big South schools because of that reason. But that's just how you go about recruiting, because recruiting is trying to be positive about the way you entice somebody to come to your school instead of another school. And that's really what it is. So we'll be looking for all of those facets of our recruiting, but we think the wider net will be advantageous to our ability to recruit.
Dave, I can.
Yeah, go ahead.
I think one of the things I'd follow up with, one of the things we've been able to do with our television package, and particularly the national games speak for themselves, but on the syndicated level, for instance, a game against Elon and William and Mary, that we linked the syndication of Comcast up and down the East Coast, from Maine, CSS throws in into Florida, and Time Warner here in North Carolina. We don't want to just have the game on in Virginia and North Carolina. We want it on in New York and Boston and Philadelphia and everywhere else. And they've been tremendous partners so when we throw the TV switch on, again, it might be William and Mary and Elon, but it's also showing in New York and Boston and Philadelphia. And so that's, I think that's an ancillary, but your team still could be coming out of your gym. Or out of the football field, but it's something that's going to get the exposure in a much broader area, and that's a key to, I think, our television strategy and opening up those other markets, that because we have schools there, we have leverage to open up New England.
A question from Noel, if that's okay.
Sure.
Can you tell the Board of Trustees the discussions that went on with this? Could you maybe relate some of what went on with that? And was Tuesday sort of the final determination? I'd heard that the vote went through Tuesday, and was one of the final maneuvers in this whole thing.
Sure, the final vote was Tuesday. And without going into a great deal of detail, we were presented a lot of information. I think there was a healthy discussion, a lot of good questions about the implications of it and the decisions. I'd say on the funding side of it, that the board has to accept a lot of responsibility in terms of helping fundraise and the obligations that go with that as well. And so we understood the implications top and down. So it was really a discussion that was had at the executive committee level, and we had, I'd say, a forewarning or a preface to it a couple of months ago in a prior meeting, not specific as to this, but just a heads up that there were a lot of changes going on in the conferences, and so we were prepared for the debate.
How many people are on that executive committee?
The executive committee, I think, is 12,
About a dozen.
about 12.
About 12 vote for?
I don't recall any negative votes. And the board itself, I think we've got about 32. I was chair of the bylaws at one point, so I should know. But at any rate, again, all that were participating, I don't think there were any negative votes.
We have many of our coaches, and certainly everybody up front will be available, so we'll take one more question. Bob, I see your hand moving maybe. But then we'll move into separate interviews, and you're welcome to. If you don't, I didn't know if I didn't know if you were bidding on something or, go ahead.
This is for you or President Lambert. You mentioned Davidson earlier, and I was wondering if there was that you kind of modeled maybe yourselves after at points, and I was wondering if there's a Davidson, or who are the Davidsons in the CAA that maybe you kind of see yourselves looking like?
Well, I'm always smart enough to defer to the president when you say for him or I, so.
President Quillen and I at Davidson had many lengthy conversations over the last couple of months about our respective positions and options and so forth. And so we talked frequently back and forth. Davidson is a very different kind of institution than Elon. It's much smaller and is purely a highly selective liberal arts college. Elon is a liberal arts university with a great number of professional schools. And we have a chapter of Phi Beta Kappa here. Interestingly, there are 7 private universities in the country with a chapter of Phi Beta Kappa, the oldest and most prestigious honorary society in the United States for the arts and sciences, and which hold the highest professional accreditation in each of their schools: law, business, communications, education, etc. One of the other 6, Elon is one of those 7 that holds all of those credentials. One of the other 6 is a fellow colonial school, and that's Hofstra University. Elon looks very much like Hofstra in terms of its size and in terms of the complexity of academic mission. So I think, you know, there's a fair north-south comparison that holds more water than does an Elon Davidson comparison in terms of academic mission between the schools. Size-wise, we look a little bit more like William and Mary in the Colonial than we do any of the other schools. But again, I think William and Mary has a very, very strong liberal arts orientation, as we do here as well. Most of our students, 50% of our students, are liberal arts majors at the undergraduate level at Elon. That's a strong core, very strong core part of our mission. So I'm not sure I'm really getting to your question, Bob, but
I just wondered who you kind of like in which you're answering, which is.
The big difference is that we are not a research university. Many of the, SUNY Stony Brook, one of the associate football schools on Long Island, is clearly an R1, a medical school. Our mission, our principal mission here is teaching. Our faculty are active scholars and publish and do research, but we are not a research-intensive institution like many of the members of the Colonial are. we would, in that respect, we would be, again, very much more like, I would say, a William and Mary. Elon's a hybrid institution in so many respects. There's not a direct, easy comparison to a lot of other schools. But we think, nonetheless, the important thing is that the Colonial is comprised of academically very fine institutions, and we think the overlap and level of cooperation possible is going to be wonderful for us, both athletically and academically.
Well, once again, thank you so much for being here and sharing this historic day with us, and we were excited to be a member of the Colonial Athletic Association. Coaches, go to work.